So, we are standing in history. Think about that for a moment. We are standing in history. That is profound stuff. 98 years ago, where you are standing, where we all are standing, was a movie theater all by itself, this lobby. And instead of being a lobby, people walked in the door and they sat in rows of seats and they watched a film against this wall. This was the Portola Theater. We are standing in history. I doubt there are many people here who can say this, but I know that there is one person who remembers going to the Portola Theater. Lane Townsend, would you please wave your hand and give her a round of applause?
There's more.
Who else? Raise your hand right here. The Portola Theater operated from 1919 until a fateful year, 1941. Late in 41, when we think of that year, we think of Pearl Harbor and our country's entry into World War II. But at that time, the SRO company, Sterling Recreation, the John Dan's company, many of you remember the John Dan's Theater in Bellevue, closed down the Portola and created this lobby and added a 1,000-seat auditorium to the north here. And on January 22nd, 1942, the Admiral Theater opened. We are standing in history. Many of you, I dare say all of you, have been here before, I'm guessing. And I'm not going to embarrass anybody by saying whose it's the first time, because you're here because you love this place. We are standing in history. 44 years ago, in the spring of 1973, SRO closed this place down again, and in order to stay viable as a business, installed a wall down the middle of the theater and twinned it. Unfortunately, some of the historic aspects of the building were lost, but not the great majority of them, and the theater continued to thrive from 1973 on. We are standing in history. 28 years ago, just a few years after this theater was sold to Cineplex Odeon, there was a tiny little ad in the local daily newspapers that said, closing night Sunday, just a couple of nights before. And on January 29th, 1989, 50 of us picketed outside this theater with signs that said, keep the Admiral afloat, don't sink the ship. And I gotta tell you, it's not just a laugh line, it's really appropriate. On the marquee, the last movie was Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. It was, and you've gotta realize, many of you don't think about this, but you've gotta realize this is before the internet. Over the next 6 months, our group banded together, mobilized the community. We sold 1,300 of these Save the Admiral Theater buttons like the one I'm wearing tonight. We got 4,000 petition signatures. We stormed the Landmarks Board meetings, and in July of 1989, they designated this theater as a city landmark. And to this day, they say that that community landmark campaign is a model for every other community landmark campaign that's ever been done in the city. We are standing in history. Now, just because a building is landmarked does not mean that it stays open. Many of you know that the theater remained closed for 3 years. In fact, storefronts were closing all around us for 3 years because this theater was and remains such a catalyst in this community. But in the spring of 1992, the father and son team, Cecil and Mark Garton, bought the Admiral Theater, brought it back to life, and on April 2nd, 1992, we celebrated the grand reopening of the Admiral Theater 50 years from the Admiral's first days in 1942. And some of you were here that very night. We are standing in history. And tonight, with the renovation that's taken place over the last 2 to 3 months by the company Faraway Entertainment, which has been the operator of this theater for so many years. Recently, we now have 4 screens, and we not only have 4 screens, but because this is a landmark building, all of the historic features protected by the landmark were preserved by this renovation, and this theater has a future. We are standing in history, and we are standing for history. Now, all the films on the marquee that you see outside and that are on the postcards you hold, all 4 films that we're showing tonight were shown at this very theater, in this very space, during their eras. So this is a full circle kind of a thing. I want to thank a few people, and then I'm going to bring up 3 speakers. Actually, it's going to be 4. We have a surprise for you tonight. And then we'll do the ribbon cutting, which is not ribbon at all. It'll be film. I want to honor the past one more time. I mentioned John Dans and Sterling Recreation. You can't talk about the Admiral without the Coach family, Ray Coach, who was the manager here for decades. And then at our gala last fall, many of you met a man named Jim Bonholzer, who is now 91 years old, and he worked the opening night of the Admiral Theater in 1942 as a 16-year-old. We have 3 of his grandchildren here. Raise your hands. Where are you? We have Stephen. We have Julie, and where's the 3rd? Okay, yes, Matt. And Matt, shout it out. What is your daughter's name?
Livia.
Livia is here, another generation of the Bonhoeffer family. I want to thank some contributions by Alexander Party Rental and Highland Park Elementary, but mostly I want you to know the volunteers who made this night possible. Listen to these names. These are people who live around here and love this place and are part of our historical society efforts. Edla Deppman, Bobby Meehan, Carrie Korsgaard, Deb Barker, Carol Vincent, Rick Keller, Lauren Burgon, Pete Spalding, Rico Smith, Sandy Wilkinson, Valerie Van Tyne, Linda Ball, Amy Lee Darenthal, Sandy Hirano, Clem Daniels, Brad Chrisman, Tom Reese, Colleen Scow, Dorothy Hendricks, and Jenny Bodnar. Please give our volunteers a hand. This couldn't happen without them. I want to thank the Admiral's staff, and though he is not here tonight, this should be your loudest applause. He was the man who saved this theater in 1992. I don't know where he is, but applaud as if he could hear you wherever he is. The owner of this theater, Mark Garton. And the last thank you is the deepest and most profound one, and that is the whole community. This is a landmark because of the community. Looking around you, we are community. We're standing in history. We're standing for history.